Oh, yeah, it's that time once again. Truth time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. We count it all joy to be together on this day. What is happening? I guess the question becomes, what is not happening? And Dr. West and I will delve into the fact that President Donald J. Trump has decided he's just going to take over the Gaza, rebuild it, just send the 2 million Palestinians on their way, wherever that is. He's going to rebuild it and kick them out of it. I think that's called ethnic cleansing, but we'll see what the good doctor has to say about that. And Doc, I'm telling you, I'm shaking my head right now because we have so much work to do here domestically, not using the resources here at home. Plus, I think this president promised to stop wars, but yet he is anxious to send more troops into the Middle East. And then there have been protests all across the country over the Trump administration's policies thus far. Doc is in the house. Dr. West, what is on your heart and on your mind?
My dear sister, I first want to say, I'm here at the airport, so I appreciate you being so patient. Appreciate our listeners being so patient and Brother Tavis being so patient. But wherever I am, I'm tied to truth time. That's the bottom line. And it's always a blessing to be there and be here with you. But no, we dealing with levels of lawlessness. We dealing with levels of gangster activity. Seems as if there's no checks and balances kicking in. We shall see whether the courts are able to hold on. You can see Congress itself is as weak as pre-sweetened Kool-Aid. You can see the Republican Party has completely given in to gangster presidency. We have an imperial presidency with an imperial mentality that wants to grab Panama Canal, grab Greenland, make Canada 51st state, and now stands there with the war criminal Netanyahu and doesn't say a mumbling word about the suffering of those precious brothers and sisters who are in Gaza. 20,000 babies. How you doing, my brother? God, but 20,000 babies, 50,000 precious innocent folk dead. Doesn't say a mumbling word about that kind of suffering. No, he wants what? To make it into a Riviera. He's thinking of economic development and money, but we've known this. We're not surprised that Trump's gangster sensibilities, gangster mentality, neo-fascist orientation. The, the challenge, though, is the American system just a house of cards? Can some person come in, take over with an imperial presidency, a dictatorial presence with no accountability at all? Is the only thing left us hitting the streets and going to jail, so-called public opinion? Is that the only thing left in the country? Are we so spiritually bereft and morally cowardly that that's the only thing left in the country? Because many of us been out here for a long time, Sister Nina, you and I and others. Let's just be honest about it. Canaries in the mine. But I'm hoping that there is an awakening. I'm hoping there is a reckoning. I'm hoping that we can turn the corner. But we shall see. We just have to be consistent in our witness. That's the important thing.
That's it, Doc. Consistent in our witness. I mean, it should come to no surprise. Almost everything that Trump 2.0 promised to do, he is doing it, especially those things that cause chaos and confusion. He also ran and promised that he would not get us in forever wars, but yet and still here we are. There are arrest warrants, international arrest warrants out for Netanyahu. But as you laid out, Doc, our president is, oh Lord, to even say those words, the president of the United States of America is standing side by side, speaking very openly about ethnic cleansing and taking over their land. And then, if that was not enough, had the pure, unadulterated gall to demand that other Middle Eastern countries like Egypt, take the Palestinians. I mean, just as if they just widgets, just gonna pass them off, that they have no ties and no rights to that land.
No, but any nation that could see genocide in real time and have hardly any elected officials raise their voices or bring power and pressure to bear to end it knows that the moral fiber is almost non-existent. And in fact, an immoral fiber is thick. And that's very much what we're dealing with now. If you can't say a word about Palestinian babies in Gaza, then you're not going to say too much about Panama and Greenland. You're not going to say too much about Musk going into the into the Treasury Department and seizing all the information of various citizens. You're not going to say too much about viewing DEI as the cause of a plane crash. I mean, this is so lawless, so gangster-like that we have to continually, but also steadily, call it for what it is.
Yeah,
Gangster activity, hatred, contempt, and yet at the same time, we've got to resist and be resilient.
got to resist and be resilient. When we come forward, we're going to continue our conversation about resistance and resilience in the face of neo-fascism. This is Truth Time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-237-8585. That's 800-237-8585. Again, that's 800-237-8585.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
So we are in the midst of discussing a myriad of happenings. One is the fact that the President of the United States of America stood next to President Netanyahu of Israel and talked about taking over to Gaza and also sending troops. And there have been widespread protests all across the country linked to Trump's policies. Now, Doc, we just got some breaking news in, which is the top Trump administration officials tried to walk back what President Trump said with regards to taking over to Gaza and sending in troops. I wonder why. Because that would be so unpopular among the American people, even folks who put him in office. They don't want that. They don't want our troops going over to the Middle East. They don't want to send their sons, their daughters, their family, and their friends over to the Middle East. And this would be the opposite of what Trump said he would do in terms of not pushing for forever wars. Because he prided himself, Doc, when he wasn't elected, in saying, had he been in office, what happened in the Middle East, the recent happenings in the Middle East would not have taken place, that no wars started under his watch. Yet here we are, him looking at the Gaza as if it's some beachfront property to be developed by him and his cronies, and just go ahead and send the Palestinian people on their way. To add to that, though, also, they got Huckabee in charge of our relationships with the state of Israel, and Governor Mike Huckabee has certainly been on the record as saying Palestine does not exist, that the Palestinians have no rights to that land. So I just want folks to weave all of that together, and you'll get an understanding as to why we're going through what we're going through. And another point, Doc, I know people are up in arms about this, as well they should be, but really President Donald J. Trump is not deviating from the policies and the positions of the Biden administration. He is just doing it straight up in our face. Instead of doing it in a covert way, he's doing it very overtly. But if you look at what happened under the Biden-Harris administration, the over 40,000 people murdered, and it's more than that, that is an undercount. Millions of people living in famine right now. 95% or so of the Gaza Strip just totally destroyed. All of that while we're up in arms with what President Trump just said, and we should be. More than one thing can be true at a time. We should still be up in arms about how we got here. And we got here under a Democratic administration that spent billions of our tax dollars to bomb other people's, not just babies, their mamas, their daddies, their grandparents, and people that they love, Doc. Now that's real.
That's very real. It was fascinating to see the, I call them the war sponsoring, directing the Palestinians. It was interesting that he threw
Doc, we're having a little, we lost Dr. West. So Dr. West is traveling right now. The brave soul that he is, taking on our show at the airport. That is how much and how deeply engaged he is in Truth Time. So hopefully we can get him reconnected. I think what Dr. West was saying is that it is just quite telling that in this moment, these things are happening, and yet people are acting as if this is something that is brand new. It is absolutely not brand new. The whole notion of manifest destiny in the United States of America, the 21st century version of imperialism in the United States of America, this is it. And so many of us never lived through these things. These are connective tissue that we read about in our history books or had grandparents or great grandparents tell stories of. But to actually live through this type of behavior in real time is absolutely problematic. It is absolutely revealing, and we must absolutely fight back in all the ways that we can, and never allow this type of hatred, this type of bigotry to settle with us. It's not okay, because but by the grace of God, it could be any of us and any of the people that we love. And that is why we have to care about what is happening in the world. What happens over there happens over here. And then in the domestic realm, for all the money that we spend in war making, that is less money that we have to spend domestically. All right, we got the good doctor back. That we know you on the road.
I'm just so sorry about that, but you were laying it out with such eloquence as you always do. But it was
we're a team.
But it was something that after Biden and Harris and others have facilitated this genocide, Netanyahu gets up there and says he got hardly any support from them. He gets up there and just puts them under the bus over and over and over again. So here they have legacies of facilitating genocide. And Netanyahu says, "You didn't give me hardly any support. I thank God that Trump is in the White House. He's the one that's been concerned about what I'm doing. He's the one who gets all the credit. And it's been a continuity of supporting ethnic cleansing, apartheid, and genocide, both parties, Democratic Party and Republican Party. But you see, when you get gangsters all together, they turn on each other. And that's what's going to happen with Trump, too.
Yeah, eventually.
Absolutely. Musk and Trump and Bannon, they're going to be at each other's throats in ways we don't have a language for, because there's very little genuine principle. Actually, Bannon has more principle as the neo-fascist populist that he is. But Trump and the others will almost do anything just to stay in office. No serious belief, conviction, dedication, and commitment. Just money and power, power and money and power, power and money.
That corrupts absolutely. That can we're
Ooh,
seeing it in real
ooh.
time. Just, I mean, the fact that he had the nerve to throw the Biden Harris administration under the bus after he got and I mean everything. Our nation is violating the Foreign Assistance Act 620I. We are in violation of international law and our own laws. I want to say that one more time. We are in violation of United States laws and also international law, primary to Foreign Assistance
Mhm.
Act 620I, that is very clear that when it is brought to the attention of the President of the United States of America that aid to civilians is being blocked by a nation that we fund, we're supposed to stop. The Leahy law. You know that, I mean, so just you want to talk about the rule of law. They always throw that out there when they're talking about the American streets, but they don't hold themselves to the same standard. So not only was Biden in contradiction, not just in contradiction, breaking American law and international law, we got President Donald J. Trump doing the exact same thing. And I really do hope that our folks, our audience, are making the connection. President Trump is more brazen in his actions. It's the difference between being stabbed in the chest and being stabbed in the back. He's more brazen, but the impact of what President Trump is doing is just the same, and in some ways the impact of what Biden did, because Biden allowed the slaughtering of innocent Palestinians on his watch. They are
On
the
his,
same, Doc. They the
that's
same.
very true. That's very true. And what happens is the war criminality that spilled over to Austin and Thomas Greenfield now spills over to Rubio. Now spins over to the same positions that are occupied by these individuals. And if they don't raise their voices, which they will not, they will be complicitous with crimes against humanity. But it seems to mean very little. In the same way, international law is just, it has no status. I mean, it's almost gone. It's just This is just the law of the jungle. And they say, "Well, Brother West has always been the law of the jungle." Well, that's true, but at least people made gestures to international law, so you can use that as the basis of some kind of condemnation and indictment. Now, you could tell that these politicians don't care about law and international law. And when
They
Thomas
do.
Jefferson said, "When you make tyranny law, then rebellion becomes duty, resistance becomes duty, and usually lawlessness is responded with a certain lawlessness too." That's what gangsterization of a country and a world is all about. And we
Yeah.
raise the question here in Black history: how do we keep alive legacies of Martin King and Fannie Lou Hamer in this jungle-like situation? I'm telling you, it's very difficult indeed.
It is, and this is the very moment where we have to draw upon those courageous individuals who stood up in the face of even physical death when it came to fighting for freedom. We are in another type of freedom fight right now. And in order to keep pushing, to keep moving, we got to remember that, and sometimes it's hard, Doc, just the whole, disregard for another people's land, a disregard for even them as human beings. Our Palestinian sisters and brothers are being treated and talked about as if they are the other, as if they don't love, as if they don't feel pain, joy, disappointment. They're just like any other human being walking the face of the earth, yet our callous indifference towards their pain. It is the same energy that has a callous indifference for babies going hungry in this country. It's the same callous indifference that does not care whether we have universal health care. It's the same callous indifference. It's just that energy is being used in an international way. There is a straight line. There is a connective tissue. There is a quilt, if you will. Those patches go together to the callous indifference, to what the suffering of Americans are going through right now in our country and the suffering of other people's folks worldwide. It's the same energy.
You telling some painful truths on truth time, I'm telling you. But we have to confront it. We have to confront it. And I think we're headed toward a civil war at home. It's already cold. It's getting hotter every day. And that just means that the gangsters and their collaborators and cronies, they're going to be hunting us down. They're going to try to kill us. They probably kill some of us. So we have to get ready. We got to get fortified. And we have to say that we got a spirit, we got a love, we got a joy that no army can take away, that the world can't take away. That's part of what kept Black history at its best. That's where we are now. That's precisely where we are now.
That's it. And it doesn't always have to be a physical death, but the fact that they're coming at people, they're coming at nonprofit organizations, they're coming at businesses like Costco to try to make them do away with their DEI programs. They're weaponizing the federal government. They're saying to the CIA, who walks into the CIA? Not that I'm a cheerleader for the CIA. However, they occupy space in American politics. And you walk in and say, all y'all need to go. Everybody got to resign. Say what? How do you do that? And you have a Congress, especially the United States Senate, that is very much in play right now, that is really rolling over. We know the Republicans gonna roll over, and the Democrats, Lord Jesus, have mercy on our souls. Doc, I'm telling you,
we are in a situation between a rock and a hard place with Pharaoh on all sides of the bloody Red Sea.
No doubt about that. And yet and still, we're still saying, even with all of this, that our resilience and resistance has to reign supreme. They're disrupting. He talked about lifting working class people. You're not doing that. You're sitting up here trying to erode most of the federal working base, which those people are public servants, again, not elected, but public servants nevertheless. And now you want to put these people out of a job. You want to buy them out. And then word on the street is that if they don't take it, then you're just going to lay them off anyway.
Ooh.
I mean, and yes, they're going to file lawsuits and all of that, Doc, but my God, it costs money and time and energy. They know exactly what they are doing. The shock and awe is in full effect. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation on KBLA Talk 1580.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not jiving you, man.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A federal judge in Maryland is blocking President Trump's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship. 5 pregnant undocumented women and 2 nonprofits sued, arguing the executive order violates federal law and the Constitution. A Seattle judge had already halted the order last month, calling it unconstitutional. The Midwest and Northeast are facing a winter storm today, bringing snow, ice, and travel disruptions to cities like Chicago, Cleveland, Philly, and D.C. Conditions may last through tomorrow. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he is feeling better after a health scare last week. Doctors are urging him to focus on his health after gaining 25 pounds. Adams plans to return to a plant-based diet. And the NFL is replacing the "End Racism End Zone" message at the big game with a new message, "Choose Love." Despite national attacks on DEI policies, the NFL says it will continue its initiatives. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
If you were self-employed or a 1099 contractor and missed work because you had COVID or cared for an immediate family member with COVID in 2021, you may qualify for up to $32,000 for the Sick and Family Leave Credit. Visit taxcreditnow.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Luka Doncic got a first-hand look at his new team Tuesday night at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, and he was impressed. Doncic was on the Lakers bench in street clothes for the Lakers' 122-97 beatdown of the Clippers. The Lakers scored 45 points in the first quarter, their highest total in a quarter this season, and led by as much as 31. LeBron, who sat next to Doncic whenever he went to the bench, had 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Lakers are 8-2 in their last 10 games. They have won 3 straight and are 10 games over 500 for the first time this season. The Lakers are having an important practice Wednesday morning. Doncic will participate in a 5-on-5 scrimmage, his first full contact workout since suffering a calf muscle strain on Christmas Day. Depending on how Doncic feels after the scrimmage, there's a good chance he could make his Lakers debut in Saturday's home game against Indiana. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
The following is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways for the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a complimentary stay in Cancun at a luxury resort, then Family Vacation Getaways may have your ticket to paradise. We're giving away a 5-day and 4-night stay to the first qualified 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You may also be eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $398. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you may be eligible to get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $398. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431. Again, call 800-868-6431 and give us your answer.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. For information on fire recovery resources, recovery hubs, and available services, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 countywide. Aid distribution locations, repopulation updates, and safety rules are constantly changing. Visit the LA City and LA County websites for the latest. If you'd like to sign up for the county's free debris removal, fill out a right of entry form, or get a list of disaster recovery centers that are still active, please visit recovery.lacounty.gov or call the debris hotline at 844-347-3332. If you're vulnerable to mudslides with rain in the forecast, free sandbags are being offered. Go to lacounty.pw/sandbags to find out where to get them. Businesses who have lost their facilities due to the fires can use a regional online source to get free or discounted locations. Whether you're interested in donating or finding space, you can visit the Business to Business Space Share portal at spaceshare.lacounty.gov. Additional LA County small business support and programs can be found at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
I'm back.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Cornel West and myself still talking about resistance and resilience in the face of all this crazy that is happening. There have been protests all across the country to stand up and speak out about what the Trump administration is doing, from the realm of immigration to allowing an unelected oligarch to control the Treasury Department to threats by this president to take over the Gaza Strip. Doc, I tell you, so protests all across the country, thousands of people showing up at state capitals. Many people are very frustrated by what they're seeing within the Trump administration, and also equally as frustrated with the Democratic Party. Some Democratic Party leaders gathered and saying they're going to fight. They're going to fight. Keep the fight. You know, Senator Chuck Schumer was leading that bunch. You had Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Senator Warren, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just thinking to myself, no shade, but yes, shade. I'm thinking to myself, where was that before the November election cycle? Little, too late right now in terms of what those elected officials are doing. What they need to do is get in there and plan on how to halt or slow down what this president is doing, using the power of the Congress, and allow the people, the activists on the outside, to do something different. Why are y'all out there protesting when you had the ability to stop this from happening all along? I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, I think you're telling the truth. But the problem is that when you have a corrupt system in place, and you know that the spineless milquetoast Democrats who are running things, now you got some folk, you know, like we talked about Nichols and yourself and Bernie, that were trying to raise issues of critiques of Wall Street greed and what have you. But the folk who are running the Democratic Party could not present a viable alternative to a neo-fascist Republican Party. And so 90 million stay home. That's how many stayed home in America, because they've just given up on the system. They do know how corrupt it is, but the system still goes on. So many of the folk, even who voted for Bernie, voted for Trump.
That is
and
true.
Now they're dealing with the blowback and the backlash as well. And so when you have a corrupt system that cannot provide a situation in which a genuine alternative to the corrupt system itself is in place, the system begins to implode. It begins to implode. We are watching in real time the implosion and the relative collapse of the American empire owing to that greed and hatred, both weaponized, both organized. And who will bear the major burden? Poor people, working people, disproportionately chocolate people.
As per the story of the United States of America, some of the places that people were protesting on Wednesday, places like Philadelphia, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and beyond. And a lot of the fervor, Dr. West, is really being directed not just to Trump, but also to Elon Musk. His favorability rating or disapproval rating, I think he's in the 40s for approval, and even that seems a little high to me. But he is not, needless to say, he is not popular within the United States of America. And why President Donald J. Trump will allow him to run things is beyond me. There is going to be a clash, however, I believe, and as you have stated, between them, because we know what President Trump loves the most is attention, 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 and more attention. And I bet he will not stand for long, somebody else getting more attention than he does.
That's so true. And of course, you got Steve Bannon going on the war path against Elon Musk. See that right-wing populism against the right-wing elitism is going to be a major, major conflict within Trump's camp, and it's going to intensify. It's going to escalate. And one of the hopes we have is that folk within the mega movement begin to turn on each other, so it weakens them, and they're not able to move as swiftly to do the kind of damage that they've already, in some ways, purported to do, and in some ways have done.
Yes, and in that implosion moment, it behooves the Democrats to be ready. Stop playing checkers and start to play chess, because it's their fault that we're in this position right now. But I was looking at some of the polling that was very clear, especially in the swing states, that Democrats lost where those voters were. They wanted Medicare for all. They wanted a ceasefire. So all of the things that the progressive side of the movement has been pushing, you see in the swing states, not just among progressive swing state voters across the political spectrum wanted these things, but yet and still the Democrats did not campaign on any of this. And they just ceded the total territory to the neo-fascists in that way. And so I'm not quite sure yet how they're going to reconcile that if they are not willing to make a total 360 change in the way that they operate and come up with an internal and external plan to fight neo-fascism.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you have a electoral political system that basically runs on big money, and those who have the biggest money are not poor people and not working people, then it's hard to conceive of any mainstream party not being beyond redemption. And somehow the people have to come up with other ways of expressing their will and their voices when the system is so corrupt. And in some ways, that's what we're wrestling with too, because if we just hold out for Democrats with their corporate dominated elites, you can just see this thing happening year after year after year after year, and it won't hold. It will not hold.
It's kind of sort of like moving the chairs on the Titanic, pretty much. And I don't think they get it. There have been folks in the neoliberal strata of the Democratic Party really ridiculing voters. For example, the Islamophobia that's being pushed towards voters in Dearborn, blaming the voters of Dearborn without having to say Arab American, because they're, Arab Americans from different parts of the Middle East, but we know directing that mainly at the Palestinians. But when you start to blame voters for your shortcomings, that tells me almost everything that I need to know about moving forward. Some top Democratic talking heads basically saying, you guys got what you deserved and that kind of thing. I mean, that never works. And it's galling that they would go that route, but that is exactly the route that they are going. I don't know.
It's a hell of a moment, and nobody really knows at this point exactly how we sustain the light. It's just a flickering candle right now in a very, very, very dim and grim time, but we gonna make it. And especially black folk who have been on intimate terms with these kind of times, we gonna make it. Oh yes, but we gonna make it with so many wounds and so many scars and so many bruises. But we gonna make it through.
ultimately we will make it. And as long as folks understand that there's going to be, without struggle, right, there is no progress. We're not the first generation to endure it. We will not be the last, but we have a place in this moment in history to shake things up and to continue to stand up for what is just, right, and good. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips. Now I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
1 in 3 children born today will get diabetes. This sad prediction by the Centers for Disease Control will come true if millions of Americans don't improve their lifestyles, especially by changing what they eat, how much they eat, and how active they are every day. Every 23 seconds, another American gets diabetes. Stop diabetes before it starts. To learn more, contact the American Diabetes Association or download our free diabetes education programs at learningaboutdiabetes.org.
Are you a recent college graduate with a dream of getting a high-paying job in sales? A job where you can grow a lucrative career in multi-platform audio, digital, podcasts, social media, and local events, along with world-class training and career growth opportunities. KBLA Talk 1580, located in historic Leimert Park, is currently hiring entry-level account executives for outside sales. Join a team featuring radio hosts Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, Dr. Nee Corley Corte, Zoe Williams, and our very own Dominique DePrima. For more information on attending our upcoming career fair, contact SMB at KBLA1580.com today.
Work.
Truth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. No matter what we're going through, definitely that truth crushed to the earth shall rise again. And all that we are weaving into this conversation about President Donald J. Trump declaring that he was going to take over the Gaza, repair it, send the Palestinians away, send in American troops. Although he has since walked that back, or at least his people have walked that back. They know good and well that forever wars and sending American troops in would not sit well, not even with the Trump base. And the other part of this is that protests have taken hold all over the country as activists and other leaders are trying to figure out how to push back from the outside. We need some get back on the inside too as well, Dr. West. These folks got lawyers and brain trust folks. They need to find a way to maneuver some stuff so that on the inside, these elected members of Congress can fight back. I would say they're better utilized trying to do that than out in the streets talking about we're going to fight back, we're going to give up. When, my God, they should have been doing that before November and we wouldn't be in this situation.
Oh, that's so true. But one thing we want to remind our listeners that we must never, ever, ever be surprised at evil. Never. Evil is always already operating. America's an empire. It's got predatory capitalist orientations. It will do anything for profit and gain. Long history of hatred and terrorizing and traumatizing of black people and indigenous people. So we shouldn't be surprised, because when you get surprised, all of a sudden you get disoriented and discombobulated and act as if, lo and behold, this is the first or second or third time you've had to come to terms with it. No, we've been on intimate terms with evil in all the various forms, including the evil inside of our very hearts. But at the same time, we must never be paralyzed by despair. Nothing wrong with wrestling with despair. Nothing wrong with acknowledging despair. Nothing wrong with feeling at the moment you overwhelmed with despair, but that's just one moment. Despair in the end will not have the last word. So don't be surprised by evil or paralyzed with despair. See the evil for what it is and keep resisting and wrestle with the despair and forge a hope through your wrestling with that despair. That's what Truth Time is about. That's what Black History is about. That's what Sister Nina Turner and Brother Cornel West are about.
Forging all the way through. You know, Doc, I often say evil never sleeps, so good can never take a vacation. That's really what this comes down.
Oh, that's a fresh word.
Yeah, that's a
Oh, that's
Turnerism
a
right there,
fresh word.
Doc. Evil never
Wow,
sleeps.
that's powerful.
Good can never take a vacation. And that's the moment that we're in. I think in moments in history, we kind of get lulled into thinking that everything is okay, even though the hairs on the back of our neck standing up, you know, our Wakanda senses are tingling. We know all is not quite right, but because it kind of seems right, we don't say a whole lot. And then a moment like this one emerges when it's straight up in our face that all is not well.
That's right. And for the precious masses all around the world, Frantz Fanon called them the wretched of the earth.
Yes. A great
Africa
book
and
to read.
Asia.
We should recommend that book.
Yes, absolutely. You can read the wretched of the earth, go back to that and look at that decolonization movement. For the masses of the world, this situation is in many ways normal for them. Arbitrary power at the top, corruption of elites, fellow citizens feeling powerless, but somehow they muster a tremendous spirit and character and integrity and honesty and community. That's where we are right now. And that's where we're going to have to keep swinging and keep laughing and keep loving and keep organizing and keep demonstrating and keep supporting each other in solidarity, no matter what, because it's right, because it's moral, and because it's just and loving.
That part, we can never leave community. That's we definitely are stronger together, better together, can go further together. If each and every one of us are willing to put a little extra on our ordinary, extraordinary things can and will happen. When we come forward, we are going to continue this conversation. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580. Well, maybe we're not going on break, Doctor.
Oh, okay. No, indeed. We still going here at the airport and in the studio. Yes, indeed. We never, ever stop. We're going to keep on moving. Curtis
We will
Mayfield said, moving on up.
Moving on up. I think, you know, even as we let folks know what is happening and acknowledging despair and sadness, and in some cases, some people do feel hopeless. We just don't want them to stay there, because all of us, whether you're close on the battlefield, no matter where you are in this moment, it is definitely understandable that people are feeling strained right now.
No, to feel despair is to acknowledge you're not numb, that you're highly sensitive to the suffering in the crisis and in the catastrophe. There's no doubt about that. It's just over and over again we say there's retail despair and there's wholesale despair. Retail, we understand. Wholesale, never, ever, ever allow it to completely overcome your mind, heart, body, and soul. No, no. We're going to work through that
Yeah, we're definitely going to work through that.
And solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This sandwich is not just spicy, it's flavorful. Hi, this is Patayo. And this is Elsa. And a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich is that spicy kick. Because the spice comes in at just the right moment. Oh, no. A little thing I love is that cilantro lime sauce. It's a fun blend of zesty and bold. That's what really makes me happy. Are you going to eat all your fries?
Order a Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich and a Diet Dr. Pepper on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Indeed, beautiful, Doc, as you navigate the airport. We are doing it all on Truth Time. We're talking about absolute power corrupting absolutely with Trump 2.0, protest in the street over policy positions and actions that this president and his administration have taken. And we're wrapping that all up in resilience and resistance. So, Doc, we got only a few more minutes left to finish this conversation.
Well, I tell you, I always eagerly await the Nina notes.
Yeah, you know, my Nina note today is really coming from the civil rights leader, activist in her own right, a believer in young people. She organized young people. They sought her advice constantly during the civil rights movement, and that is the one and only Ella Baker. I want to lift her up. Yeah, lift her up. I know she's one of your favorites too, Doc. And this one is very short and simple. She said, give light and people will find the way. And that's what we seek to do here on Truth Time, is to give light so that people
give the light. Lord, the light so they can see and connect it to the fire on the inside so they can fight.
That's it. That's exactly
Lord,
what it's. Yeah. And I mean, it's so simple, but it is also so real. You know, if you think about being in a dark place, a dark space, all you need is one flicker of light. It doesn't even have to be full, just one flicker. And you indeed can find your way. I mean, that's the moment we in right now, Doc. Giving people light so that they
is the moment we in. And our loved ones, you know, for moms and dads and grandmoms and granddads, and their light is still shining inside of us. They passed it on.
Yeah, they did.
Passed it on.
And it is because of them that we can do what we do and continue to stand in the face of adversity. This is not the first time we've faced adversity. It will not be the last time. The question becomes, what are we going to do in this moment to champion and to continue to push for justice in all of its forms? Take it from Sister Ella Baker. Give light and people will find the way. Well, we believe that here on Truth Time. Thank you for joining us today. We count it all joy. We cannot wait until we are gathered again. Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica. 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. What an amazing 24 hours we've had. As soon as we finished the show yesterday, we tuned into the President of the United States' press conference, and the President, along with Prime Minister Netanyahu, shocked the world with an amazing, astounding, and very troubling announcement that the United States would own and develop the Gaza Strip. Today, the White House is pushing back on some of the president's comments, and immediately to my mind came none other than Dr. James Zogby. Dr. James Zogby co-founded the Arab American Institute, a Washington, D.C. based organization which serves as a political and policy research arm of the Arab American community. In 1985, he continues to serve as its president. He is the director of the Zogby Research Services, a firm that has conducted groundbreaking surveys across the Middle East. In September 2013, President Obama appointed Dr. Zogby to the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. He was reappointed to a second term in 2015, has concluded his service in May of 2017. He has twice been elected vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Dr. Zogby has also personally been active in U.S. politics for many years. In 1984 and 1988, he served as deputy campaign manager and senior advisor to Reverend Jesse Jackson's presidential campaigns. In 1988, he led the first ever debate on Palestinian statehood at the year's Democratic Convention in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2000 and 2008 and 2016, he served as an advisor to the Gore, Obama, and Sanders campaign, and he pressed the Democratic nominee and President Joe Biden to end the relentless bombing campaign after the tragic events of October 7th, in which Hamas invaded Israel. Dr. Zogby, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse, very much.
It really is an honor to have you. I wanted to go back just briefly before I get your initial response to the president's statement to just share with some of our listeners the history that exists between us. In the late 70s, my mother went to the Middle East to meet with Yasser Arafat, and she came back after having seen the condition of Palestinian women and Palestinian children. She sought a meeting with then the president of the Security Council, Andrew Young, appointed by Jimmy Carter as ambassador to the United Nations. She shared with her the horrific treatment of Palestinians that she personally witnessed. Andrew Young made a decision that he wanted to talk with the Palestinians, to have a conversation with the Palestinians. The reaction to that conversation was so overwhelming that President Jimmy Carter fired Andrew Young, Martin Luther King Jr.'s assistant, as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. That led Reverend Jackson to take a trip to the Middle East and spend considerable amount of time in the West Bank with Yasser Arafat, the Gaza Strip. And he came back too, articulating the conditions of Palestinian citizens and their treatment. And of course, that led over time to the two-state solution, of which many of us have fought for over many decades. And all of us, I think Dr. Zogby included, was outraged by the attack by Hamas on October the 7th and the terror that ensued as a result of that, and the kidnapping of hostages. And then, of course, we were overwhelmed by Prime Minister Netanyahu's relentless bombing campaign in the Gaza Strip. Dr. Zogby, you warned the Democratic Party that the bombing campaign could have adverse impacts on the Democratic nominee. And we saw that in the Arab American votes for Kamala Harris and the key critical states, the swing states. Dr. Zogby, you must be equally as shocked at what we heard last night when President Trump offered a plan to own, develop the Gaza Strip, indeed make it essentially an American colony. Your thoughts, Dr. Zogby?
Well, my thoughts evolved over the last 24 hours. When I first heard it, I did a tweet. I just said this was delusional. It was disgusting, and it was dangerous because it would it was insensitive to Palestinians. I mean, to assume that they're pawns on a chessboard to just move them around to make way for whatever you want to do. That's been their history for 100 years, from the Balfour Declaration, which divided Palestine from the rest of the Arab world and made it a British mandate, which was then promised to the Jewish people as a homeland, all the way up to 1948 when the UN partition occurred, and the partition area was majority Palestinian owned, but it didn't matter to the UN. They were just trying to create a Jewish state and a Palestinian state, and all the way through to today, where Palestinians remain not seen as human beings in their own right, or entitled to all the rights and all of the privileges that human beings should be entitled to. Instead, we'll move them here, we'll move them there, we'll kill them here, kill them there, to solve the problem. It's Israeli humanity versus the Palestinian problem, and the solution for Americans is how do you solve the problem so that humanity, the Israeli humanity, can have peace. It's not looked at as two equal people. And so I was angry at Trump for doing it, and I wanted to write, and I did write a detailed, you can't move them out, they won't go, Egypt and Jordan won't accept it, and Saudi Arabia is not going to pay for it. All of the delusional concepts that he had were just never going to happen. But then this morning I started to write another piece for a paper that I write for. And while I was writing it, I said, you know what? He's not serious. He's not serious about this. This is like the shell game he plays. This is the hustler. He's like, look over here. Meanwhile, I'm doing this over there. It's like he got us talking about trans bathrooms, and what they're doing is cutting corporate tax rate. What they're doing is removing taxes on income earned abroad. What they're doing is cutting Medicaid and cutting benefits to states so that states are going to ultimately have to cut their budgets. He's putting a tax on scholarships that kids win to college, so their parents have to pay income on the income tax on the scholarship. That's the stuff that he's doing, but we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is trans bathrooms. Yeah, we ought to talk about that, but he's cleverly figured out ways of diverting attention and distracting us from their economic and focused agenda to issues that he can dangle in front of us and get us all hot and mad about. Well, it's the same thing here. What we ought to be worried about right now is that Netanyahu has no intention of completing phase one and going into phase two of this ceasefire. He's already made it clear to his partners that what he wants is, at the end of phase one, he wants to continue the war, evict the Palestinians, and make it impossible for them ever to live in the northern part of Gaza Strip.
Jim,
yeah.
I want you to hold on to that thought because I think it's important to where we're going, whether or not we can actually trust what the President of the United States is saying and doing. I've got to pause for station identification.
Sure.
When we come forward, we'll be with Dr. James Zogby. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Are you a recent college graduate with a dream of getting a high-paying job in sales? A job where you can grow a lucrative career in multi-platform audio, digital, podcasts, social media, and local events, along with world-class training and career growth opportunities. KBLA Talk 1580, located in historic Leimert Park, is currently hiring entry-level account executives for outside sales. Join a team featuring radio hosts Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, Dr. Nee Cordelai Corte, Zoe Williams, and our very own Dominique DePrima. For more information on attending our upcoming career fair, contact SMB at KBLA1580.com today.
Work, 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 work. I have a dream today.
They said it couldn't be done. They said we wouldn't make it. But history had other plans. This February, KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates the dreamers, the doers, and the breakthrough makers of Black History Month. Your station, your stories. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. For information on fire recovery resources, recovery hubs, and available services, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 countywide. Aid distribution locations, repopulation updates, and safety rules are constantly changing. Visit the LA City and LA County websites for the latest. If you'd like to sign up for the county's free debris removal, fill out a right of entry form, or get a list of disaster recovery centers that are still active, please visit recovery.lacounty.gov or call the debris hotline at 844-347-3332. If you're vulnerable to mudslides with rain in the forecast, free sandbags are being offered. Go to lacounty.pw/sandbags to find out where to get them. Businesses who have lost their facilities due to the fires can use a regional online source to get free or discounted locations. Whether you're interested in donating or finding space, you can visit the business-to-business Space Share portal at spaceshare.lacounty.gov. Additional LA County small business support and programs can be found at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Dr. Jim Zogby. Dr. Zogby is the founder of the Arab American Institute. He's been serving as a vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee and an advisor to multiple presidents on the issues that we have been experiencing in the Middle East. Dr. Zogby, a lot of us are very anxious about the president, and some of us watching all of these executive orders, not limited to Elon Musk locking USAID workers out of the Agency for International Development, and now he's on his way to the Education Department, requesting things from the Treasury Department, access to critical data that affects payment systems. I'd like you to listen to this clip because some of us are now taking Donald Trump at his word. Play the clip. Okay. In the meantime, while we load the clip, Dr. Zogby, your thoughts about how seriously or not so seriously we should take Donald Trump?
Well, I think we take him very seriously, but we need to focus on what we need to take him seriously about. Sending troops to Gaza, not going to happen. Expelling Palestinians, not going to happen. What is going to happen is doing what he can do to dismantle any of the guardrails that protect us against authoritarian rule. He's going to do what he can to lower taxes for the rich and reduce benefits for the many. He's going to appease his religious right-wing base. He's not serious about it. He doesn't care about those issues, but he knows that he keeps them on his side by doing. There are things to take him seriously about. And then there are things that he just doesn't really care about at all, but he knows that they are the bright, shiny objects that sort of distract people's attention and create headlines. Like I said, like the carnival huckster, who, while you're focused on what's going on over here, is actually doing something over there. That's, I think, where you have to discern. A bit of discernment is necessary to know what's real and what's the distraction.
Let me just add to that, and I'm going to use a concept that was developed by the Israeli military, and that's called the 10th man in the room. If 9 of us agree, Dr. Zogby, that Donald Trump is distracting us in the Middle East with what he said yesterday, there's always the 10th man who says that it's possible and that we ought to at least think about the possibility of something happening. There are already a number of American battle groups in the Mediterranean Sea. They've been providing cover for Israel. They've been discouraging Iran, the Houthis, and others from attacking Israel. They are there. I mean, there are thousands of battle-ready troops in the Mediterranean as we speak. It just seems to me that we would be miscalculating just to focus on the domestic, fully understanding that the domestic context does matter, but our international focus was driven to new heights and stretched to new meanings when we heard that press conference last night.
If he did need a war like Lyndon Johnson and Vietnam, the famous Norman Mailer, hot damn Vietnam, I found a way to distract from my domestic problems with a war. Bill Clinton did that too with Serbia and Bosnia. There's that, wag the tail thing, wag the
dog.
Yeah, there is that thing. But I think in this case, that it was so outrageous and so impossible to happen that I am not worried about him sending troops to Gaza to evict 2 million people because there's so many things here that aren't going to happen. Number one, he's not going to commit those troops into Gaza. Number two, the visuals of 2 million people being expelled are nightmarish and would be so damaging to America. Even he's not that stupid to do it. And number three, there's nowhere for them to go. Egypt's not going to take them. Jordan's not going to take them because they know that the instability it would create in their own countries if they were viewed as participants in another Palestinian expulsion, in another Nakba, would be devastating for the stability of Jordan and the stability of Egypt. And for the same reason, Saudi Arabia is not going to pay for it, for the same reason. So I think that it just doesn't pass the smell test. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid of what he's doing, because I think what he's doing is providing cover for Netanyahu to be able to finish the job, as he puts it. Netanyahu finished the job, which is to go in and completely eliminate the population with massive bombing, just send them more 2,000-pound bombs. He would let that happen. But I do not believe he was going to set U.S. troops on the ground, because it would be both a nightmare and, frankly, we'd lose lives. And I
think you're right, but we know that he's transactional. We know he's a realtor. We know he likes his brand. We know that he has more yesterdays behind him than he does tomorrows, and he wants to be remembered. Why don't we play this clip?
Grinning by his side, U.S. President Donald Trump made a shocking announcement. Contrary to initial plans, Phase 3 of the Gaza ceasefire reconstruction is unlikely. Instead, Trump envisions something different.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, will own it, and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site. I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East.
The forced displacement of a population by an occupying power, Israel, violates international law. Trump reiterated his call for Egypt and Jordan to take in the 2 million displaced Palestinians, a plan both countries have rejected. Still, Trump believes he'll convince Arab nations to sign on to his vision for Gaza, ideas Benjamin Netanyahu also endorses.
President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism. I think it's something that could change history.
Trump referred to Gaza repeatedly as hell and a demolition site, but he believes it can be transformed.
I envision world people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there, Palestinians also. I don't want to be.
Dr. Zogby, this proposal that we heard last night is already gaining support in the Congress of the United States. They've seized USAID. The Speaker of the House has already commented on this. Members of the Senate have reluctantly not challenged the President of the United States. I get it. We got these domestic concerns. But it certainly seems like the train is leaving the station on this question.
It's not going to get out of the station. It might be chugging, but it's not going to move, because ultimately what it's going to require are U.S. troops to forcibly evict Palestinians and to get into a ground war in Gaza. That's not going to happen. Maybe Israel will be charged with evicting them, but we've already seen how successful they can be at that, which is not at all. But I do worry that there will be, at the end of phase one, as Netanyahu promised, a restart of the war. He needs to do that to keep his government together. The right wing is going to leave him if he makes peace and goes into phase two, which phase 2 and 3 call for a total removal of Israel from the territory and for reconstruction to begin. That's what Netanyahu doesn't want, and I don't think that's what Trump wants either. They want Palestinians out, but they don't know how to do it. Trump is saying, I'll do it, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to leave it to Netanyahu to do, which is why I think that it's a distraction from the demand we ought to be making, which is that Israel must fulfill the terms of phase 1, 2, and 3 of the ceasefire. That's where we ought to be focused.
Your thoughts on the remnants, if you will, of the peace deal in light of the president's statements, and whether or not a two-state solution is still achievable.
No, it's I don't think it is right now at all. And I think that even the language has changed to putting the region on the path to a possible two-state solution. I mean, there's nobody talking anymore about how you do it, because the amount of settlers and the position of the settlers in the West Bank make a contiguous West Bank impossible. And yeah, Gaza is rubble, and it's not rubble because there was a hurricane or an earthquake there. There was a deliberate policy on the part of Israel to demolish not just homes, but entire communities and infrastructure and all the services that from electricity to water to the sewage system, everything was destroyed. And so this is, Trump's right. It's going to be really hard to rebuild with people there, but they're not going to leave. They have been through hell for over a century now, the people in Palestine, and they have not left willingly ever. They have wanted to remain, and they're going to remain because it's become an article of faith for them to stay on the land. There's an Arabic word, samud. It means steadfastness. And it's become an article of faith that we will remain on this land our feet planted on the ground, they will not leave.
During this reconstruction phase, is a Riviera for the Palestinians and the idea of democracy a possibility in your thinking about the reconstruction plans?
I remember being with Arafat in Gaza during the early part of the Oslo period, and he made the point, he said, Gaza can either be Singapore or it can be Somalia. It's up to the Western world how they react. We went with trips. I went with trips with Ron Brown and with Al Gore to bring American businesses there to invest. And we got a number of people lined up willing to invest to build factories in Gaza. Israel would not allow, this is in the good years, it would not allow or guarantee import and export rights. And so what happened to the companies that were interested in going was they said, if we can't be guaranteed the right to import raw material and export finished product, we can't do this. It's too big a risk. And there was a plan that was being put forward by a Palestinian businessman from Virginia to build a Marriott resort on Gaza. OPIC, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation here, he appealed to them for a loan. They would not give him the loan because it was too big of a risk, because Israel wouldn't guarantee the completion of it or its operation. So Israel is the reason why Gaza is impoverished and has always been the reason.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, Dr. James Zogby is our very special guest.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Department of Justice says FBI agents who acted ethically in January 6 investigations will not be fired. This follows an FBI lawsuit over a Department of Justice request for a list of agents involved in Capitol riot cases, which was later turned over. The United States Postal Service will resume accepting packages from China after briefly pausing due to new tariffs. These tariffs close a loophole allowing tax-free shipments under $800. Maryland is moving closer to replacing the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Black Governor Wes Moore unveiled the new design Tuesday, featuring a taller structure with wider lanes and shoulders. This follows last year's Dolly ship crash that killed 6 people. And African-American Scott Turner is being confirmed to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Senate Majority Leader John Thune praised his grit to tackle the U.S. housing crisis amid rising costs and prices. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
If you were self-employed or a 1099 contractor and missed work because you had COVID or cared for an immediate family member with COVID in 2021, you may qualify for up to $32,000 for the Sick and Family Leave Credit. Visit taxcreditnow.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is a co-sponsor of the HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star football game featuring players from HBCU schools. The game serves as a showcase for HBCU players to get exposure from NFL scouts and player personnel directors. This year's Legacy Bowl is February 22nd in New Orleans at 1 p.m. Pacific time. NFL Network will have live coverage. The Legacy Bowl also includes a career fair for HBCU students. Other Legacy Bowl sponsors include Coca-Cola, Allstate, Adidas, and Coors Light. Joshua Williams, a reserve cornerback for the Chiefs, is the only HBCU player competing in Sunday's Super Bowl. Williams played at Fayetteville State in North Carolina. He was a 4th-round pick of the Chiefs in 2022. Despite shutdowns of DEI programs by the Trump administration, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said the league will continue its very active and high-profile diversity initiatives. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580's 3rd annual Black History Month luncheon, and you're invited. This is year 2 of our climate justice work, and this year's $2 million 12-month campaign is all about linking and combating the relationship between climate and Black health. We already know that these wildfires will leave in their wake even greater inequities, including negative impacts on Black health, given the toxic air pollutants circulating in the air we breathe. So, as part of this year's climate campaign, we're honoring Black doctors and leaders in healthcare at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Friday, February 28th at noon. If you would like to join us, just go to our KBLA 1580 website and register for your chance to be our guest at the luncheon. We'd love to see you. And in case you haven't heard the news, KBLA Talk 1580 was just named one of the semifinalists for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Are you a recent college graduate with a dream of getting a high-paying job in sales? A job where you can grow a lucrative career in multi-platform audio, digital, podcast, social media, and local events, along with world-class training and career growth opportunities. KBLA Talk 1580, located in historic Leimert Park, is currently hiring entry-level account executives for outside sales. Join a team featuring radio hosts Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, Dr. Nee Cordelai Corte, Zoe Williams, and our very own Dominique DePrima. For more information on attending our upcoming career fair, contact SMB at KBLA1580.com today.
Work.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Dr. Jim Zogby from the Arab American Institute. Dr. Zogby, welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. Zogby, I want to shift to domestic issues in terms of the relationships for just a moment. As you know, there has been a tenuous relationship historically between African Americans and Jewish Americans. Some of them in my lifetime date back to the Bakke decision, which was about affirmative action, about African Americans being able to attend institutions of higher learning and testing. And then we've seen in the last year and a half, especially since the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, we saw the first African American president of Harvard University failed miserably before the Congress of the United States when asked the question about anti-Semitism on campuses. And then we watched AIPAC come after members of the Congressional Black Caucus, including Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman and Ilhan Omar and others. Ilhan Omar successfully won her campaign, but Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman lost their campaigns. And Kamala Harris, while she was running for president of the United States, had to deal with this issue in real politic terms. I mean, Michigan and other communities where Arab Americans were trying to hold the Democratic Party accountable, hold Joe Biden accountable, hold from a very legitimate humanitarian perspective, the idea that a genocide and a slaughter was taking place within the Gaza Strip. Your thoughts on, as a DNC member, the future of Arab Americans in the Democratic Party, in the coalition, those who sat out the campaign, those who need to re-engage the process, the regrets that they may have by not supporting Kamala Harris as well. Your thoughts?
Look, there were no real Trump voters in this election. There were anti-Biden voters, and it got spilled. There was a spillover for Kamala Harris. They didn't believe that she would be different. I was convinced she would be different from conversations with her, but she did not publicly distance herself. And let's face it, there was a genocide that was unfolding, and they felt the pain very deeply, and they were dismissed. Their concerns were not heeded. And I believe the campaign had an opportunity to create possibility for itself. And I knew from our polling, they not only wouldn't have lost votes, they would have gained votes, not only from Arab Americans, but from Black, Latino, and Asian voters, from young voters, from progressive Jewish voters. Poll done post-election found 29% of those who didn't vote said the number one reason that they didn't was Gaza. And this was the population generally, not any particular group. It was across the board. Gaza shocked the conscience of many, and it cost votes. But I want to go back to this issue of the Jewish community and the Arab community and the relationship with the Black community, because this is something that I, going back to my friendship with Jack Odell, who worked with your dad, and with
Yes.
Ron Walters, who worked with the Congressional Black Caucus. And Jack was one of my mentors, and Ron, one of the smartest political thinkers I ever knew. After one battle that we had over something, I forget what it was, I asked Ron what's going on, and he said that the difference he was explaining in terms of the Black community. He was saying that there is a part of our community, a younger part, that has a nationalist consciousness. They grew up in a cultural revolution in Africa, and they identified with their African roots. And he said they look at your community as brothers and sisters, and they see an affinity there. He said that there's an older part of my community, he said, that sees this as alien to them. And he said, so there's really a split within the Black community over dealing with Jews versus dealing with Arabs. It came to a head in 1983, in the 20th anniversary, the March on Washington. 3 Jewish groups said, if you let the Arabs march, we were invited to be in the National Steering Committee, we're going to withdraw. And some of the older groups, NAACP, Urban League, said, we're on their side, keep the Arabs out. And it was your dad, it was SCLC, it was a lot of the younger leaders in the community who said, hell no, they're part of this, and they've been part of this, and we want them here. And that followed us through to the campaign in 84. I remember in 84, 88 rather, when we had the Palestine plank and the platform, it was fascinating because New York Times wrote it up, Arab versus Jew at the Democratic Convention. It wasn't. We had as many Jews on our side as they had on their side. Your father attacked a significant young Jewish progressive movement. And at the same time, there were Blacks on the side of don't talk about Palestine, as well as there was a significant body of Black leaders who said, we got to talk about Palestine and justice for both people, accepted your father's position. So it's an interesting dynamic. I think that what we're seeing unfolding here, and the reason why some of the Jewish groups like AIPAC are so panicky, is because history is moving away from them. And younger people have moved the debate in every community, not just the Black, Arab, whatever, Latino, all that, but in the Jewish community. You have all these big demonstrations that have been around the country, the sit-ins in Union Station or in Grand Central Station, in Capitol Building, they were done by progressive Jews. And as you well know, I mean, they are driving a lot of this movement right now. So I think we've got a whole shaking up going on here. And I think it's a very good thing. We just have to keep the momentum going. The cause of justice and peace depends upon it.
Let's talk about Capitol Hill for a few moments before we come forward. I know that our time draws near. Dr. Zogby, AIPAC maintains a major influence on members of Congress, their thinking, the number of votes, even the resolutions that are constantly offered that are often measured against members of Congress. There's so many of them that it's impossible to keep up with all of the agenda items. But it seems to me that there is a kind of loyalty that Democrats are asked to make at the congressional level to the funding of Israel, to the support of Israel, over and against peace initiatives that don't get the same kind of constant resolutions and support on Capitol Hill. Your thought about the dynamic on the Hill and the Trump administration?
Look, you talked about Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush and Nina Turner and whole bunches of other people across the country who've literally been pummeled by millions of dollars, pummeled into submission. And in Congress, there's a fear that, as there has been for years, that if I cross this lobby, I'm going to get punished for it. But there's also a growing sense that we can fight back and win. The number of members of Congress who have come out for resolutions wanting to tie aid to Israel with their human rights performance has grown to really significant numbers. And I think the movement is continuing to grow, and the time's on our side. It's not on their side, which is why they are so panicky and being so punitive in the measures that they take. But that's hurting them, not helping them.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest has been Dr. James Zogby. Dr. Zogby, I hope you'll come back and spend more time with us.
I will.
Please don't go anywhere. I just need about 10 more minutes of your time. Thank you, Dr. Zogby. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do
Let's play something, Grandma.
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs.
Picking up! Oscar! I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
1 in 3 children born today will get diabetes. This sad prediction by the Centers for Disease Control will come true if millions of Americans don't improve their lifestyles, especially by changing what they eat, how much they eat, and how active they are every day. Every 23 seconds, another American gets diabetes. Stop diabetes before it starts. To learn more, contact the American Diabetes Association or download our free diabetes education programs at learningaboutdiabetes.org.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I want to thank in a very special way our guest, Dr. James Zogby, whom I'm sure everyone recognizes is in great demand today. He's always in demand, but today, particularly because of the president's press conference yesterday, every news medium in the country is trying to get him on. I saw him on earlier today on CNN with Breonna Keeler. I thought he did a fantastic job. And so I had to let him go, but I want to opine on some of the things that I heard from Dr. Zogby. He spoke initially about the outrage that he felt when he heard President Trump make his claim that the U.S. should own, develop, and turn the Gaza Strip into some kind of Riviera, some kind of place for, quote, the people of the world. And then within 24 hours, he said, you know, this guy is capable of making distractions. But from my perspective, I also heard him during the campaign attack diversity, equity, and inclusion. I heard him attack patience. I heard him promise that he was going to do something about the border. And in the first 100 days or first 4 weeks of Donald Trump's presidency, I have seen him just about fulfill every campaign promise he ever made, including but not limited to pardoning 1,500 January 6th insurrectionists. I have no reason to believe that Donald Trump, who operates in a world of chaos, doesn't mean what he says in the Middle East. I cannot imagine that he would be withdrawing the battle groups that are presently in the Mediterranean Sea, providing cover to Israel over against the Iranians and other threats to that state, that somehow those people and those troops and those battle groups are going to return home anytime soon without fulfilling the mission of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Services, the President of the United States. So I think, in my own estimation, that we are in for a real long haul. The president spoke about bombs and rubble that needed to be removed. Well, I just can't imagine that it's going to be the Israelis who go into the Gaza Strip remove that rubble and rebuild that infrastructure and remove mines and bombs that have been planted not only by Hamas, but by the Israeli military when they occupied northern Gaza and as they pushed through the entire strip. I just don't see how that infrastructure, from running water to sewage to pipes, is going to be built under the conditions of the massive amounts of rubble that we see as a result of Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu's bombing campaign that did not cease until just a few days ago, a few short weeks ago, in the present ceasefire. So, with that said, I don't share Dr. Zogby's immediate optimism that this is a distraction. I don't think that any arms are going to be able to be brought into the Gaza Strip, and rightfully so. Those arms
KBLA 15
would represent a threat to Israel, so that's not going to happen. So I see the Palestinians kind of sitting there. They may be on a major exodus back to the north, but I don't see the reconstruction taking place in the way in which the international community may indeed suggest it. It seems to me that any bomb removals in the Gaza Strip is going to require the United States Army Corps of Engineers. It's going to require a massive amount of infrastructure to rebuild the Gaza Strip. And I think that Donald Trump sees not the people of Palestine. He does not see the Palestinians. He sees exactly what he says, a real estate transaction. He sees the opportunity to do business in the Gaza Strip. He sees Gaza belonging to Israel. He sees initially it being part of some expansion of American colonialism, if you will, the American empire, and taking over USAID and the foreign affairs assistance programs, which, by the way, have overwhelmingly benefited Israel since the Balfour Agreement, and since we've been appropriating money from the Foreign Operations Committee in the House of Representatives. A significant share of that money has gone to Israel and to Egypt. And given the leadership in Egypt, which is just as transactional as Donald Trump is, if the right transaction is made between some of these leaders in the Middle East, there could very well be an exodus of Palestinians, a forced exodus of Palestinians into Egypt. And so forgive me if I don't share Dr. Zogby's optimism about what could happen in the Strip in light of what Jared Kushner said initially, in light of what the president spoke of yesterday in his press conference, and in light of some of the comments that we've been hearing from members of Congress today who are not pushing back against the president of the United States' desire to occupy the Gaza Strip. What does that mean for us? It means that our sons and daughters who are serving in the United States military could be part of that occupation. They certainly would have to be part of that cleanup. It certainly means for our national treasury that we would be investing a significant amount of resources to build Donald Trump's vision of a Riviera on the Mediterranean. Billions and billions and billions of dollars to reconstruct what has been devastated. It means that the Israelis would be very involved in the reconstruction efforts. There's a lot to be said about whether or not Palestinians would be allowed to participate in those reconstruction efforts, or even Egyptians or Palestinians in the West Bank, or Jordanians, or other people from that part of the world, given their historic affinity for the Palestinian people and their cause. And so I'm concerned. I'm concerned that the president said we should not be in forever wars when he ran as candidate in 2016 24, President Trump said we must end forever wars. And he might have just picked the forever war of all times. So much has hinged in the Middle East upon the security of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people already live in every major Arab country, all 22 nations. There are 23 nations in the Middle East, of which one is Israel. The other 22 are predominantly Arab. And the Palestinians have been displaced. And they are in all of these countries. And they still see themselves as a very, very proud people. And they're not friendly towards Americans and American policies that, since the Balfour Agreement created the state of Israel, with all of our hopes that the two people might find commonality and be able to live together. It simply did not happen. And yet Donald Trump has concluded that somehow, his real estate transaction will solve the longstanding problems and divisions that many of us who've lived this life, who understand this history, are profoundly concerned about. That's kind of my opinion on that matter. And also, Donald Trump is transactional. This is a transaction for Donald Trump. He understands transactions, and he doesn't care if it's African Americans he's moving out of housing in New York, or whether it's Palestinians he's moving out of Gaza. He believes in transactionalism. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.